Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Gentleman's Atlas podcast. I am thrilled to bring on another special guest. Ladies, gentlemen, this guest is someone that not only have I admired, not only have I heard his word, heard his message, seen his story, but I have seen the progression. I've seen the results of the work that he's put in. He's someone that, again, he knows he's not where he wants to be, but he's definitely not where he started, because he realized that there was more to him, that he had potential. And just as I advocate to you guys, you have the ability for greatness. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the one and only Christopher Bila. Christopher, welcome to the show.
Oh, man. Thank you. Thank you so much for the introduction. That means a lot to me, man. I give all glory to God first most, but for everybody's watching, y'all are your own journey, and if you look back, you have gone a long way as well. So your story is just as important and just as powerful as mine. So always remember that, and you too can easily have these conversations and be in these positions because your story matters. So I just want to say that before we get started.
No, that's absolutely wisdom. And that's a great point to honestly get started with, is that idea that we are the hero of our own story. And the truth is that we sometimes get caught up in everyone else's life, that we fail to realize that our own is unique and it's the one that we actually have control over. So to start out, I want to get your thoughts on how do we become more present in our own lives? How do we detach from thinking and caring and responding to all these other things that have nothing to do with us and start focusing more on ourselves?
Man, that's a huge question, man. And to answer it, you really have to figure out what you're listening to, like, and what noises are you hearing, and what are your triggers. I think that social media is a very good thing, but it can also be a very damaging thing to your mind. If you see a lot of images, a lot of, different people, careers that are, younger than you or they are the same age as you, and they're showing that they're living the best life possible. Look at all this cash I got, all that nonsense. And it's doing something to your brain where it's making you feel like you're not good enough, or you're not gifted or anything like that. Then you have to block that noise. So you may have to unfollow the account, block that account, whatever the case you have to do. And then also it could be a person as well. It can be a relationship. It can be a friend. It can be a parent. I think anybody that is really spewing unsolicited negative opinions on, your dreams and your passions, and it's affecting your productivity, your work ethic, and sometimes your identity, then you have to really do the things that you need to do in order to not lose yourself, because other people's opinions, other people's mindsets can get into yours. And now you are thinking about things that you never thought of before. Now you have these doubts that wasn't there before you shared this information. So you just have to be careful of what you're listening to and what's really causing noise in your head. And then you have to remove those noise and get back to yourself. You may have to do some quiet time. You may have to do some meditation. Maybe, if you're like me, you have to talk to people. I have to talk to my friends. I have to talk to my father. I have to talk to my mentors. I have to get all my counsel and everybody come here and figure out what's going on with me. That's how, I do my thing. So everybody has their own thing. Everybody has their own system. And once you find that, you have to stick with it. Because it's going to be more, peoples or opportunities like those things that's going to come up, that's going to creep doubt in your head. And you have to have the right practices to really kind of bump off that. So I think that's a good way to kind of really just remove that noise.
Yeah, no, I think that's key. I think you have to understand that you have to be comfortable being alone. Like, it's not that you necessarily have to be alone, but it's the fact that at the end of the day, are you comfortable with who you are, or at least who you're looking to become? And it's also...
Yeah, what do you think about by yourself?
Exactly, and it's also this idea...
I think that's something.
Yeah, and...
That's something for sure.
And so when I also kind of talk about that, I also think of this idea that, right now in life, you got to ask yourself, who's with me, who's someone that I can trust who's someone that wants the best for me, and who as well is creating that negativity. And you also have to kind of understand, because some people bring the argument like, oh, they've been my best friend for this long, or they're a family member. And it's like, it's not that you get rid of them completely, but it's like, if you are letting them into your innermost circle, if they're the ones influencing you, those ideas, those feelings, those thoughts, they're going to bounce off you, and they're going to stick with you, and they're going to hinder what you're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that you have to be able to make those decisions for what's best for you. I call it, you have to make healthy, selfish decisions, because I know for me, I will naturally, I feel like I'm a better teammate than a selfish player. Like, if I'm on a part of a team, like, I'd rather be like a Draymond Green on a team than like the star player that's losing every year, you know? So I naturally put others before me. But as I've been getting older, you know, if you continue to put others before yourself and you're not realizing that you're not getting what you need in return, then eventually you're not going to like it. You're not going to blow, you're going to like probably blow up, and you're going to turn around and look like, man, I just wasted, you know, however many months or years or whatever on trying to be a good teammate, whatever. Right. So it's kind of like you have to be able to make healthy decisions for yourself. Because like you have to have your own dream, your own passion, your own, you know, your own vision. And if those people that are around you and those like really feeding you negativity, and part of the journey is kind of removing yourself in a healthy manner from those people so you can continue to move forward. Because if you let the opinions of others persuade you, then you're going to look back and feel like you didn't do the things that you wanted to do because you let other people influence you.
No, that's key. And I have that same idea. I define it as you're being selfish to be selfless. It's this idea that a better you isn't just a better you for yourself. It's a better you tomorrow, and it's a better you for others. And I always have this idea. It's like, if you're about actually making a difference and massively impacting others, the more and more you build as an individual, the more not only do you start to see things in a different light, but you influence and you inspire. And it's interesting because I found it originally, I think the biggest person that I heard it from was like Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, where he talked about this idea of like, get your house in order, because that's where you start, right? You start with yourself, then you build out. But I saw it in my own life because I was heavily in the fitness world, but I wasn't yet where I wanted to be physically, in a large part. So I knew all this information. I knew all the stuff about the body, about the nutrients, and about, you know, the diets and the different workout plans. But when I changed my workout stuff, more of my friends got motivated to work out than ever before with me telling them the information. And I realized it's part of that influence. It's part of that. You have to be selfish, because at the end of the day, doing what's best for you in a good light, in a positive light, is going to inspire those around you. Right. And at the end of the day, you can't change them. But if they see the results and they were next to you at some point, then they might see a path to get to where you are now.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing, you know, and I think no matter how big or little the progress is, no matter where you at, it's inspirational. You know, if you lose 5 pounds, that's inspirational. If you lose 50 pounds, that's still inspirational. So I think that people have to really change their mindset about like, you know, making, like, really starting your own journey and knowing that it's going to take time, because as you take time, people are always watching, and people are looking at you, and they are noticing you. They are recognizing you. You basically like in a fishbowl, as I call it, you know. So I had that same experience when, you know, we started the podcast back in 2017, and where we are now. You know, people really never thought, shoot, I like, it's not that I never thought we'd be this big, but it was more of like how it happened. I didn't think it was going to be like that. But, you know, when we started, in 2017 and looking back, you know, it's crazy to see how many people really saw it from the beginning and was really inspired by that. And they may not know all the details, but we definitely had those experiences and those voices in our head. This is not going to work. You know, it's too hard, blah, 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 blah. But they saw the results, and they saw that we kept going. And I think that life is about continuously making progress and keep going. And to me, there's always some areas where we can really we can really learn and educate ourselves and to see continual progress, so like for me, like I'm on my own fitness journey, when I show my progress in my fitness journey, now that's inspirational, so it's like I show progress in, YouTube world or podcast world. You see me start from zero to where we are now. And then I can also still do it in the fitness world. I can do it in the finance world. I can do it in whatever world that you want to do it in. What I'm saying is you're going to continue to have to progress, whether it's going to be your mental health, your spiritual health, emotional health, relationship. As you progress, you're going to have to continuously put yourself in an uncomfortable position to get better. So we can look at a lot of these individuals that are 50 years old, like, man, I can't wait. I want to be with that person. Like, I want to be like that person. But we don't know that at 25, you and him are probably very similar in the same position. He understood that and he put the work in. So you have to do the same. And if you put the work in, you continue to progress, the sky's the limit, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think that's key. And back to this idea of like, you never imagined where you'd be in this place right now when you all started back then. It's so interesting because, I mean, there's no doubt that you had hard moments where it was just like, can we keep going with this? Is this going to keep working? But I feel like there's another component that's not very talked about. And it's this idea that once you really start doing it and like the process, and you kind of get caught up in the day-to-day of the work that you're doing, and if it's fulfilling, it's almost like sometimes you do like just once in a while look back and you're like, I really did that. That was something that I'm proud to have said that I sticked with. And that honestly, it wasn't even, as bad as I thought it was in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I think, hindsight is always 20/20. Looking back on certain situations, we felt like in that moment it was a lot harder than when, a few weeks or months later. So what always kind of pushed me is like, this too shall pass. Like once I get in hard situations, like I've been through some uncomfortable experiences before and I always got a way out. But yeah, I think you also have to have the different mindset of like, okay, this is a challenge and I am thinking of a creative way or an innovative way to really get to my goal. That's what's going to make me different. That's what's going to make my story different. That's what's going to make my story impactful and unique. So the things that we go through, they're there for a reason. So it's always trying to find the lesson in the experiences, especially the uncomfortable experiences that we're going through. Because if you can always find the lessons, then you can always adapt, and you're able to adapt and implement the things that you have learned. Then if something similar comes up again, you are more likely to move past that in a more efficient and productive way. And I think that's progress. So you can have small, you can think big, but have small wins, so enjoy the W's. Don't let it let you get complacent. But, always, if you take small L's, it's not really an L. It's just education and just, take the data in and you just, do your research and make sure it doesn't happen again. And then just continue to move forward. Even though I know some things are very hard and I know it's like sounding really vague, it sounds super easy. And if it takes a couple days to get through something or it takes a few hours, whatever you got to do, like make sure you get that thing resolved. I think a lot of stuff we kind of sweep under the rug when we don't truly resolve it and implement something. So let's learn from it, let's resolve it, and let's move forward and put something in place to make sure it doesn't happen again. I don't care how long that takes, just make sure you get it done.
No, I think that's key. And the part where you kind of say like it might sound vague, I feel like the whole idea is that it's simple, right? It's not easy. It's going to be hard sometimes, but the idea is simple and it's easy to understand. It's just sometimes we don't want to understand it. And
we make it more complicated.
Exactly.
Too.
We kind of feel like there's more to it, or we feel like it can't be that simple, and we really add on to stuff that just isn't there. And with that idea, I want to kind of go into this space of, investing in yourself, right? So not just this idea that, You know, you can buy other things that make you happy. At the beginning, you have to invest in yourself. You have to put yourself first, not only in terms of time, but also in terms of experiences, knowledge, learning, connections. And I want to lead this with a little story of, you know, going down to your live show, because I want people to realize that if I'm, you know, guest interviews are a recent thing on this podcast, but if I'm reaching out to people all over the internet because I feel like their message is strong, there's a high chance they won't say anything, not because they're not good people, because they're very busy and they didn't get that way without making their time very valuable. And if they don't know someone or they haven't seen all the results, right, it's completely justifiable for them not to say anything or to say no. And so originally, obviously, I went to the show to see both you and Hafiz and meet people. The networking for me was one of the biggest things. And right off the bat, I'm someone that goes to bed very early. I like to wake up early, so I go to bed very early. So again, if it's past a certain time, I'm tired. I did not get tired a single moment in that night until I went to sleep, and that was 4 a.m, which is not where I'm usually at. And it was so interesting because it was like the energy that I felt there was so strong, because I felt the connection and I felt the presence of how there was so many different individuals, yet they had that same energy, that same feel that they wanted better for themselves. And so this idea, like when you invest in yourself, not only are you becoming better, but you're giving yourself more energy. It's the same with working out. It's the same with getting more information. And it's the same with being around other people, because you're plugging into something that becomes bigger than just yourself. And not only that, but you're exposing yourself to opportunities, which again, at the end, when I was talking with the people, we were just like having ideas and they were helping me with some ideas for the podcast. And then that caused the idea, like Chris is here, Hafiz is here, Stefan is here. Like, they could say no and it'd still be okay. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go out there, right? And if I hadn't, this wouldn't be here. But it had. And it's this idea that it was because I decided it was worth it, because I was willing to invest in myself and realize that at the end of the day, the best investment you are going to make is in yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the biggest thing, man. You have to really invest in yourself. And it's not a bad thing. I know for me, for a while, it seemed like it was so selfish. I don't know where I got that from. But I think investing in yourself is a huge key into every man's journey. And you have to you have to do that. You have to grow. You can't just go from parents' place into, you know, another parental or marriage situation. Like, you have to go out there and experience life, and I think there's beauty in the grind and the beauty of life. And I think you just have to, like you've been saying, just make it simple. You know, whatever things that you're interested in and passionate and want to learn more in, just do that. Just do that and focus on that. I think that's, you know, that's huge, because like you said, if you're around, you know, the things that you're passionate about and you're interested in, it's not going to feel like work. That's why it was easy for you to just network all night. You know, I'm the same way. Like, when I get there, I was just talking to people. I didn't know what time it was until I looked up. I would say, hold up, it's 2:30? Like, okay, it's 2:30. You know, I've been talking all day, you know. So I think that is a feeling that is indescribable unless you go experience it. And I think that's a challenge that, you know, to everyone that's watching, is really figure out what that interest is and that passion is, and go surround yourself with that and get that energizing feeling and experience, because then you're going to be like, okay, this is like that thrill of life and those experiences, you know, these people are talking about.
Yeah, no, it's key. And again, with this idea of investing in yourself, it's realizing that it's interesting, because a lot of people have a warped perception of money. Like, they'll blow money on something and completely justify it for a reason, and then they'll like think about investing in themselves and they're like, oh no, that's way too much. And it's interesting because you like, sometimes the value is more than you can imagine, and sometimes it's also that idea that you're opening yourself up. So it's sometimes things that you don't realize. One example being that when I spoke to Stefan about this, he said, you know, the original way he got into really investing into himself is that he paid like $6,000 for a coaching session, a one-on-one coaching session. And he said, I wasn't expecting something life-changing, but I wanted to get something really good, at least one gem that I could take away from the experience. And it was like, I'm not going to lie and say the conversation was like amazing, like it was the most incredible thing ever, but it was very valuable. But more than that, it showed me that I'm willing to invest in myself and put myself before things that won't matter in 2-3 years.
Exactly. You have to invest in yourself, and that will take time, and sometimes it takes money, So and it's to me it's like it should be a decision where it's an investment. Like it's not spending, it's not wasteful, because you're going to gain something. If you're going to pay your money and you're going to spend time on it, you should take it seriously. And I think sometimes people have to get creative as well. Like you have to find something where it's going to. I'll give you an example, right? And this is something I'm still thinking about. I haven't decided yet, but I know I only need to really. I know I want to go on my fitness journey, right? And I'm even thinking about like literally taping it every time I work out so people can see the progress. And in the video that I post about it, it may look super easy, but to me, it's a creative way that I can allow my journey to potentially impact somebody. And it is an investment in myself as well, because it's an investment in my health, and it's an investment even just like with my brand, because I can make this really look good, and I can inspire a lot of people. So that's time and money that I have to do in order to see a goal happen. And I know that kind of trick in my brain where I'm like, okay, I'm doing this really for others people, because somebody's going to watch this and this is going to change their life. Like I remember that was like a lot of the times when we was like really like talking about a lot of emotional things during the podcast when we wasn't that big and we needed motivation. We was like, even though 100 people are listening to us right now, it could be one person that's going to be impacted by this podcast that could change their life. So it's like you got to find those things during the grind, your why, so you can continue to push forward. And I think if you can even really find that why, and you can make it about yourself, or you can make it about others, or you can make it about both, and you can find something to make it about both, then that investment in yourself, whether it's time or money, becomes super easy.
No, that's crazy, because when I started, that was the exact same message I had. I was like, if I can change one person's life, if I can make one person's life better than it was before, then I'm happy. I'm like, I don't need money right now. I don't need any of that. Like that for me was the goal. And it was so funny because I think 3 or 4 months after I started, I ran into someone that had heard the podcast. I don't know how they knew me, but they had heard it and they talked to me about it. And I was just like, I wasn't even big at the time, but it was like the fact that happened. I was like, man, it meant so much to me, because it's like, for me, like I'm still young. And the biggest thing for me is like, obviously maturity comes with age, but there's still an amount of people that are young that want to do things, and they feel like there's no one else around them that wants to do these things. And then what happens is they get discouraged. And then what happens is they start giving up on that idea that they have to be different, and they start to fit in. And to me, that was the reason I started this podcast. I was tired of not having a big community of people who were like-minded, who were also in a younger age, and realized that, wisdom is universal. And while someone that's older may have more because of experience, at the same time, you can provide value to those around the same age. And I'm also someone that's relatable. And so when I hear someone like, Jose brought it up too, he talks about it. He was like, man, when I was 18, when I was 17, that's when he started Essentials and stuff like that. He talks about it, and he's like, I would sometimes ask, why can I just go to parties and fit in like a normal 18-year-old? And he's like, he would answer immediately and be like, that's not for me. And it's like, man, I feel the same thing, ever since, and just a quick overview, like everything for me changed during COVID. Like so before COVID, I would say I was pretty typical. Like I've always done well in school. I've always had good grades. I've always had extracurriculars and played sports. But my life, to me, like if looking back, my life was average. It was mediocre. It wasn't anything special. And a lot of time I would spend time kind of giving minimal effort so I could just kind of do other things like go out and waste time like playing video games. And so when COVID hit, at the beginning I was like, oh, this is great. I don't have to do anything. I can stay at home. So first 2 weeks, just all that, you know, watching TV, playing video games, sleeping in, all the sorts. And then because I was alone, I started to kind of get honest with myself. And I was like, man, I'm not where I want to be. It's like, I have an opportunity because of, you know, where my parents came from and how they sacrificed to get where I'm here. And I'm just throwing this out. Like, I'm not doing anything meaningful with my life. And then I was like, something's got to change. I've got to find something. I've got to start building something, and I got to start making something of myself. So the first book that I got into was Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Probably the best book I could have started out with. Man, I went from sleeping at 2 in the morning to waking up at 12 in the afternoon to waking up at 4:30 every morning. The next day, or I was like, I just did my sleep schedule real week. The next day, boom, I wake up 4:30, go for a run, come back, do like an hour and a half of weights. I had like 4 weights. And then I do intermittent fasting, do a breakfast, consistency. And then I listen to books 2 hours a day. I did that for the next 2-3 months. I lost 25 pounds. I read like 7, 8, 10 books over that period of time. And everything changed. And then ever since then, you know, I was like, I can never go back. And I was so inspired by what I'd seen in my life that it was like, I kind of realized that experiences will come and go, right? There's always going to be time for fun. There's always going to be time to go out and experience things. And it's like, when people talk about missing out, it's like, yeah, you can't just like stay locked in a room for like 5 years. But at the same time, like, the experiences are going to be there, right? There's always going to be opportunities to go out and have pleasure and relax. And sometimes you do need to recover. But in the majority of time, like, you have a time to work. And especially when you're younger, it's like, people are like, you're going to give up your youth and then like work all these times. It's like, no, I'm shaping the future that I want to have. Because the future that you want to have isn't just trying to work to retire at 30. It's like, no, I'd rather be doing something that I love to do, that gives me the hours, whether I want to spend more in a career or more at home, and then make that my life. But in order to get there, it takes work. So that led me through a path. And I mean, I haven't stopped trying to improve ever since that day. That day would have been March 19th of 2020. But to me, what it's brought me is, I mean, I've never been so happy, yet I'm still not satisfied. Like, I've never been satisfied since that day. You know, I like this saying, it's called proud but never satisfied. You know, I'm super positive with my past self. I'm like, you know, he was doing good, he was working, and then I see myself now in the past, and I'm like, you can still go further. You can still go further. It's another step. It's another step. And so it's just crazy how, you know, it only takes one moment to really change your life around. And I was pretty drastic, and I was also motivated to do so. But, man, it's just, you know, you don't have to start by overhauling your life. But if you start working on the little things, you can change your life into a completely different than it is now.
Well, let's break it down then. Like, we can break it down to, because I think the systems are really the key. And I believe you had, like you said, like, your journey. So you said you woke up at 4:30 in the morning, right? And then you said you worked out, or you said you did a 1 mile run?
Yeah, I did a mile run around my block, and then I would go back and do a workout.
Roughly how long that mile run would take you in the beginning?
With the shoes and stuff, probably about 7.5.
7.5 minutes. So that's you only ran 7.5 minutes. So I'm just trying to get these people like, hey, you only need to run 7.5 minutes, 10 minutes, 12
right, and
minutes.
if you can't run the mile, then you
went,
try running half, or you try jogging a quarter, and then you walk the rest of the thing.
There you go. So then you say you worked out.
Right.
And after you work out, you say you intermittent fasting. So when did you start eating at noon?
I would start eating. I actually liked it earlier, so I did 10 to 6.
Okay.
But again, it's an 8-hour eating window, so you kind of choose what's best for you.
And there's nothing wrong with 10 to 6. Nothing wrong with 12 to 8. You know, whatever. I think that's a proven tool for people to use. And then you said you were in bed by when?
I was usually in bed by 7.
7 p.m. Okay. So Yeah, I think people have to, like, that's a very good schedule for, people to really follow. And if you can't use that schedule, make up something like that is like systematic, that you can follow and you continue to be consistent at it, then you'll see results. Sure, I think those same similar things, I kind of worked out twice a day to kind of but I think I lost like 15 pounds so far.
Yeah.
Of doing very similar things, running in the morning, weights, not trying to eat until, noon, and then like stop around 8, sometimes 9, because sometimes my day is crazy, and try not to eat super late at night and just be consistent at that. So I think that kind of system is something that can help you invest in yourself and the people that's watching, invest in themselves, to see progress. And I think those things, and really seeing those small wins, and what helped me was really looking at the number. I weighed myself day in every single day, and I'm getting addicted to the number going lower, and I'm due short, all right, if it's this way, then I'm trying to minus 5 pounds as soon as possible in a healthy way, obviously. Yeah. So that's kind of how I did it. Even though I knew I had an overall goal, I was like, nah, I just need to see little progress. If I see little progress, I see some definition develop, you know what I mean? If I can feel the nice pump, that's all I need, and just continue to go. All
right. In true roommates fashion, life is a marathon, not a sprint. It's all about the small steps. It's about the small little progress that you make. And it's not a competition with other people. Your journey is going to take your time. It's going to take your efforts. It's going to take your own story that creates it. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to stay consistent, because consistency will always win over the spikes and then just not doing anything. Because the consistency keeps climbing, exactly. And you're building a foundation, right? Even if you can't overhaul, like we said, it's a structural based system, right? Maybe you don't do all at once. Maybe the first week you're just going to bed 30 minutes earlier each day and waking up 30 minutes earlier. The next day or the next week, that's when you start trying to do the mile, right? So you start walking, then you start trying to jog. Once you can get that down, then you move on to the weights. Okay, I'm going to do 10 minutes. Now I'm going to do 20 minutes a day. Now 30 minutes. Right? Make it on your pace. If you feel like it's too much, scale it down. Right? Because we'd rather you make a system that works for you in 4 months than you try to do something that's unsustainable for you in 2 weeks and then you give up and don't do it again. And that's the point. Again, that's what happens with New Year's resolutions. People are like, I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to go to the gym every day. It's going to be great. They're motivated 2 weeks. If the motivation fails and you don't have structure, you have nothing to fall back on. And that's when you go away, right? That's the key, again, between motivation and discipline, or motivation and structure. Motivation, you'll go outside, you'll have your nice shoes on, the weather's perfect, it's a nice breeze, a little bit of sunlight, you're great. The next day, it's pouring rain, 20 degrees, freezing cold. Motivation, you'll go back in, you'll sit on your couch, that's motivation. Discipline or structure, you'll put on your shoes, you get a jacket on, you go out, because you do it anyways.
I mean, I have nothing to add to that. I think that's really the key, and I don't know when this episode will be out, but if it's still in April or it is in May, it doesn't matter. If you are having fitness goals, you cannot let another year go by.
Yeah.
I know some of y'all been losing weight 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 years. You cannot let another year go by. So this is the wake up call. Yeah, it's April.
Yeah.
Yes, it's May. Go back, and I think a good book is Atomic Habits.
Man, that's a fantastic
I think book. It's beautiful. I think like you've been saying, the system is all that matters. And if you can develop the system and, like you said, have that discipline when it's uncomfortable, then it's like that's when you start seeing results, and you have to really be relentless about it, because your mind is going to make up results. Something's going to happen to you at work or school, some goddamn, I don't know, some girl going to make you feel some type of way, and you're like, man, screw this, I don't feel like doing it. But you got to use that motivation to nah, you know what, I'm going to go pump this iron, because I still have to have my discipline no matter what happens in the world that I don't like.
Yeah, and I feel that also builds your resilience to outside events,
Yes.
because you have to understand too, it's like, if you have a system that you follow, if you have a routine that you follow, and something outside your control goes wrong, everything else is still in play. It's not affected. So when something else goes wrong, it doesn't throw you off of anything. And that's a big part. And I mean, honestly, in like relationships in that sense too, you can't have a foundation on someone else. You can't be built and standing on someone else. Like, that's not the idea, and that's not ever going to be healthy for you, because you have to understand, you know, the best analogy for me is like a cake, right? So you're the cake. You have the habits that are the eggs, you have the routines, right? The routines, the habits, the values, the purpose, all of that is the ingredients to the cake. So if you have a good balance, if you have developed and healthy and quality ingredients in the proper amounts, you make a really good cake. And if other people come into your life, whether they're romantic or friendship partners, they're like a frosting on the cake. They might make it taste better. They might make a design that make it look better. But at the end of the day, if you swipe or if you scrape off the frosting, the cake's still a really good cake. It doesn't change whether or not other people are in your lives. And I feel like people also get caught up when someone comes or goes. It's like, you have to understand that some people are part of your journey, not the end destination. And sometimes they fall into place to teach you something about yourself, to make you realize something. And I think Stefan's great with that healing aspect, right? You have to understand, why did this happen? Why did this occur? Right? It's not a blaming, it's understanding, like, is this a lack of connection, or is there something that I need to work on myself? You know, and one of the biggest examples, like you kind of hinted at a little bit, is like some guy gets heartbroken and starts hitting the gym. And it's like, that's a huge stepping stone to start going into the right direction. But then at the same time, you have to understand, if you don't develop your other character or your emotional intelligence, the next time that you find a girl that you want to be in a relationship with, you will have never developed that aspect. So maybe now in 2 years, 3 years, you were in the gym all the time and now you're jacked. But then you don't know how to be in a relationship with this person. And so either you hurt them or you fall for the wrong person again, and the same thing happens over again because you never matured.
Yeah, no, you definitely have to heal. You have to heal. You have to explore, you know, you have to have that self-awareness. You have to learn from, you know, if it is a failed relationship, really not even a failed relationship. It's more of just like, you know, to see if y'all are compatible. You know, and if y'all found out y'all wasn't compatible, to me, it's a celebration, because, you know, it's not something that, you know, you force yourself to be a part of. And I can see how it can be like a failure because you feel like you're wasting your time and your money, but it's really not that. I think if you really look and see a lot of good things that were happening in those relationships, you were committed, you know, you were faithful, et cetera, et cetera. But you have to heal if those things, you know, if it didn't work out. You have to go back and really heal, because if you don't, you are affecting not only yourself, but your next relationship, like Isaac been saying. And that's the tough part, because you bring unhealed trauma into the relationship that's going to eventually come out. And now you are, you know, having some issues with someone because you didn't resolve those issues in the past because it was uncomfortable, or because you were angry, or your focus was something else. And you feel like, if I just look better, then I'll be better, or I'll do better, you know. Or if you feel like I just need to focus on me, get my money up, stack this paper up, become this guy, you know, this guy. But you don't work on that emotional piece, then it's going to be hard to build a connection with someone with gentleness and trust and love. So you have to work everything. You know, you have to complete the entire body, the inside and the out, and you can't ignore what's going on in. And to me, like, yeah, with consistency and discipline, you can see results on the body. But it's the same thing on the inside. If you don't put that same amount of attention, focus, and work in on the inside, then it's not going to get progress. Honestly, you're going to get fat on the inside. And if you get fat on the inside, you know, now you feel like, now you're going to receive that you're like, oh, I'm out of weight. I'm out of shape, you know, with my character, or I didn't heal from the past. And now you're going to try to work yourself into shape during the relationship, and it's going to cause a lot of growing pains, or it could. To me, you have to come in shape both inside and outside. If you're like, to me, that's how you want to be able to present yourself, you know?
Yeah, no, I also think that no matter what kind of, you also think about that, you also have to understand you have to keep on working, right? You can't, if you are healthy about it and if you develop, then you have structures, but the structures don't change, right? You can't get into a relationship and be like, oh, I'm safe, and then get complacent. And a lot of people do that because they feel like that's the end goal, but it's like, no, you have to keep on developing. You have to keep on going, right? The self-development process never stops, but like, you also have to understand that you can't just think that now that you're in the relationship that you're just going to be safe.
Yeah, exactly. Nah, you can't do that. You have to, that's the important things of developing your system, your passion, your purpose, your why, because you're supposed to do those same kind of like routine, alongside together. Obviously, there's some way that you got to kind of make it work if you all gonna, be married and live together. But for the most part, you shouldn't stop doing things because it's going to look like you just did all the things just to get the girl. And you got to understand it's more to life than just getting the girl. You have to continue to be in shape because you have to be healthy in your 50s for your kids. You have to be. You have to continuously grow, emotionally and mentally, because if you don't really learn how to deal with, trauma, then in the future, when you're responsible for a family and you don't know how to do it, then it's gonna be even harder during those cases, and you may not either learn or you may not know how to teach them, and you may not lead well because you never really fully experienced resolution.
Yeah, no, I think that's key. And especially when I think about this idea of, now that we're talking a little more about relationships, like even with the whole idea of like the red pill space and the manosphere and all this, it's like there's so much negativity. And the problem that I see with most of it is like, it's most of the information about self-improvement's really good, but so many of the guys are in such a negative headspace that they're taking the message extreme and they're taking it in the wrong ways. And so again, it goes on both sides with the men and women, like with the feminism, but I'm not going to talk about them. And honestly, I'm less knowledgeable because it doesn't really pertain to me. But on this side of things, I see it where it's this issue of like, you're taking the message the wrong way. But on another standpoint, it's like, again, going to this money thing, content creators, just like the news, realize that you make a whole lot more press and money off pushing bad content. And it's like, we're going to talk about this for a second, but then we're going to transition to the finances. And also, like, I also think, to be honest, it's a very good decision. And I also think there's going to be some struggles, but I'm very proud of the decision you took to go into your own channel and focus on finances, because not everyone's clicking on that. And while you will grow, you know what I'm saying? If you went negative, it would grow a whole lot faster. And you know that, but you also understand that your calling is to help people get their finances in check, and you're willing to kind of work with that. And again, like, when content creators realize they can make $50K a month and not $5K a month by making negative content, it really populated this area and fueled this negativity. And it's like, it's unhealthy and it's unrealistic to killing people. And it's like, your content overall in the roommates, while it is real and it's authentic, it's still in a positive light. You know what I'm saying? I don't categorize in this area because you guys are talking about walking in your purpose, and it's the idea you have to develop as an individual, right? But you don't need to be pressing and hating on these other people. And you also have to realize that it's like, you need to approach things from a good standpoint, because if you don't, you're going to tear apart your own heart, and you're going to kill a chance of having a future with a positive family. Not because that's the point, but because that's a byproduct of you walking in your purpose and in your mission.
100%. I hear you, man. I hear you. I think I feel the same way as far as just the negativity, and I think any negativity is not healthy, no matter what the subject is. You can have different opinions from somebody else, and I think, for some of those content creators, hopefully, I feel like they are doing a good thing. If they are intentionally knowing they spewing negativity and just doing a bad thing, that's a whole nother story. But to me, you have to be able to use wisdom and discernment from whatever content that you're watching. And I think that you have to look at least for me, like my mindset, I can't think about, negative outcomes when it comes to the opposite sex. If I do that, then it's like, how you gonna ever really trust anybody? I can't have a negative skew of a stranger if I don't really know them like that, or just because I heard some kind of whatever on the internet. Like, to me, you gotta, like, I approach it with just truthfulness and just authenticity. Like, I'm going to be me at that moment of time. I'm not going to judge you off of anything, and I'm not going to make assumptions because you're the opposite sex. Like, I think you have to use your own experience and your own knowledge in case by case basis. And I think if you're listening to a lot of one-sided negative things, then you are going to miss on different opportunities. Because I had this, I have a very similar kind of mindset you have, and I think we're kind of like seeing eye to eye on about it. But Stefan's the one that kind of opened my eyes on the other side of it, where it's like we can see how there's a gap between between the opposing sides because how loud the negative voices are. But there's also a movement where there's our positive voices, and people like you, people like me and others have been impacted by the softer positive things, and that is expanding as well on both sides, men and women. So just as much as the negative is growing popular, the positivity message is also getting bigger as well. So to me, I'd rather be a part of the positive community, just because I feel like it's a healthier way to live, honestly. And I think you can meet a lot of dope people, men and women, in that kind of group. And to me, there's just a lot of freedom in that. And I don't have to just come into, relationships or situationships with some kind of mindset. I'd rather come with a clean slate, to somebody, just like how I want them to come with me. And yeah, I hear you, bro. I think I couldn't, my thing is, if I'm going to start my own channel and really be responsible for the content that I put out as a creator, then one, I have to find something that I want to talk about. That's number one. Number two, I have to find something that I could talk about for a very long time. And number three, it has to be impactful. Not in that order. Obviously, impactful is first, but it has to have all those characteristics. And that's why I chose finances, because one, you can always get better at finances no matter where you are. There's always tips. It's like working out. Yeah. It's like, yeah, you can be in shape, but I can show you a different form that can help you out. Okay. So it's like, one is only going to help. Two is like, it's interesting, and it's more positive. It's not the negative, like the negativity that's so easy to make money off on. Like, it's just ridiculous how easy to make money off on. But it's like, I can't talk about that. I'm gonna talk about that every week.
Yeah.
And it's like, and once you continue to talk about certain things and you continue to listen and feed your mindset about certain things, because if you're going to talk about it, then you got to know, you're not really got to know your competition, but you got to at least be interested in the topic. So you're going to listen to the people that are also saying the same thing. So I'm listening to all these other finance guys, and imagine if I was spewing negativity, then I got to listen to all the other guys that's talking about the same thing I'm talking about if it's something around negative. And to me, if you're going to talk about it and you're listening to it, I can't have that in my brain all day, every day. I can't speak like that. For me, I was never like that, and I wasn't raised like that. So to me, if I'm going to speak, it's going to be from a positive manner, in a positive way, because I am a server and an educator. I'm trying to serve everybody, and I'm also trying to educate everybody at the same time, because I feel like that's what God puts me on this planet to do. Right now, what that is definitely through the Roommates podcast, and it's also through my personal channel when it talks about personal finance. And that's something that I'm really excited and passionate about, because I can actually see the organic growth from it. And once I start, because I got some, big things coming soon, I will be able to see, in the comments how the work that I have done it will be impactful, and I know I can continue to make an impact because this is something that you can always benefit from.
Yeah, quick plug. Christopher Bilo got big things coming. Check him out on YouTube, Christopher Bilo.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just something. It's just a little something. Like, it ain't nothing like super crazy, but it's something I'm proud of. Because I do feel like the information is impactful, and I think it can leave a legacy. So
yeah, no, it's cool when you have like the little cool projects going on. Like, I applied to like a creator program to like make a class on Skillshare, and I got in. So you get like,
that's what's
they
up.
give you like a bunch of resources, they give you some guides and like some deadlines, and then after they like give you like a year of Skillshare, and they like push your course. So I'm excited to make that class just because I've followed Skillshare for a long time, and they're like, again, what they're educating is just, they're a really good platform to like teach and grow. And I've grown a lot personally from several of the classes that they've done. And I always kind of see it cool because the people that they sponsor, like you guys and like Jose and some other creators that I like to hear from, it's really cool because I clearly see that the messages are similar of like educating and teaching and gathering new information.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the biggest thing. If we can really educate each other, I think that would just make our society a whole lot better. And I just want to play my part. I want to be impactful. I want to leave a legacy. I want my life kind of really just means something. Like, I think that's the biggest thing, and I think everybody can be a part of that same game and that same journey in their own way. And I think it's beauty in that. So that's kind of like something that I want people to really just kind of think about, how they can just really just be in the game. And I'm sure they already are, and just know that you are valuable. You have value, you have knowledge, you have something that you can teach and you can share, and somebody can be really proud of you because, of your life experiences, because you have pushed through the experiences that you pushed through. You have succeeded something. You have reached a goal. You have accomplished something. So don't ever think that your story doesn't matter, or you haven't done anything, or you haven't done enough, in your head. You've done more than enough, and I think that's something that you can always look back on. And I think as long as everybody has that relationship, that cross relationship, you got somebody speaking into you, you got your brothers that you can speak along the way, y'all can really exchange game plans, what happened, and then you speak into other people, And I think if you allow to fill that gap into speaking to other people, you'll understand when they ask you questions like, man, I actually know the answer to this. I actually been through this, and now you're like, oh crap, I actually can, I can tell you. And if you don't know, then that's an opportunity for both of y'all to go find out together. So I think it's a beauty in that journey, and I feel like people need to really get on top of that.
No, I think that's huge. And kind of while we've been talking about all this, I've kind of had this idea forming about that negativity and positivity. And I think about it this way. The negativity, as you build in it and as you develop through negativity, you're building a shield. It's kind of like a wall that surrounds your body from you and the world, right? So that protects you. That's your shield of armor. But what happens is your inner is never acknowledged, and you start going away from who you truly are. And then the only way you either find out that you're doing that is by being aware enough in the inside to break through that shield, by seeing so much positivity from someone else that you realize you're off course, by a life-changing experience where you've realized that you're just completely off where you need to be, and it shakes your armor to where it breaks. And the last one, which unfortunately happens to a lot of people, is death. When time starts to go away, the armor cracks given through what it's been through, and then you realize and you look back that there was some point where you got lost in your journey, and you caved into the negativity, and you were never able to break free of that armor. But the positivity on the flip side comes from within. So the light shines smaller, but it starts inward, and then it expands. And you get to a point where, yeah, some things are going to be negative and hurt, but once you have that positivity and you have a foundation in positive lights, that is your armor. but it comes from within. Others may diminish it around you, but it's never going to take it away from you. And it's such a healthy place to grow from because, again, there's nothing that you're trying to get rid of because it's your inward light and you're staying true. And it's this idea that you are walking in your purpose. And as you walk in your purpose, as you develop into the individual that you're meant to be, that light expands.
No, that's beautiful, Isaac. I think that's I have nothing to add to that. I think that your audience, if they're, really true fans of yours, they're watching every single thing. And I'm proud of you, because you are sharing a lot of great knowledge and it's beautiful. It's beautiful to acknowledge, men who have actually put the work in and seen results and now they want to share it with others, but understand they have a long way to go and there's some more experiences that may be harder along the way, but they're ready to hit it on. I think we need more of that. So continue to inspire, continue to, lead, with your channel. I'll definitely be subscribing and watching you grow. And I can't wait to see your journey because it's going to be inspiring to me as well. So I think that it makes me feel good to know that there's people part of the younger community that's speaking into their fellow peers in a positive way, because we need more people like that. We're all on the same team, and I think that's a beautiful sight to see when you know that you have more teammates.
Yeah, no, it's definitely inspiring, and I mean, this has definitely been a terrific kind of back and exchange of knowledge because I feel like we've created ideas bouncing off each other. I think to close it off, I want to circle back to the finances because I feel that to get, your life in order, that's a big component because at the end of the day, money's a tool and it's never going to give you the happiness. It's never going to give you the fulfillment, but it is going to give you that peace of mind. It's going to be able to help you not only make changes in your life, but it's going to be able to help you reach and make changes in others' lives. And at the end of the day, support someone. And, at the end of the day, if you're going to get married, support children and a wife and stuff like that. And that's super important because you have to be able to protect and provide. So if someone's kind of not really familiar with the finance game, if they don't know the basics, what are the overall basics that you kind of start with for someone that's new to finance?
Oh, man. I would say this is good. I would say number one, it starts with your mentality. And I think if you have the right mentality of really trying to educate yourself, and also you have to have a positive mentality of where, like, you have to understand where you are. You may not be where you want to be, but you need to know where you are so you can push forward. And I think that along with mentality comes with identity as well. Your identity, your value, your worth is not in those numbers as well. So I want to make those things make sure those are number one, because you have to have the right mindset and go into the financial journey. And you have to also understand that no matter how big that number is or no matter how negative or bad that number is, it's not your identity. It doesn't mean that you have value or worth. It's literally
a
just
starting point.
It's a starting point, exactly. So the first thing is mentality. The second thing is really education. You have to, I would say, really figure out where you're at. I would change number 2 to figure out where you're at. So you need to know what's in your bank account. You need to know your assets. You need to know your liabilities. You need to know how much your income is. You need to know how much your expenses are. You need to know your credit score. You need to know your net worth, and you need to know your budget if you're in a surplus or a deficit. You need to know all those things. Those are basic things that you need to know because, like you said, Isaac, it gives you a starting point. So if your net worth is 0, it's okay, at least I know where it is, and I know my goal is 1,000 or 10,000, whatever. So now you can begin to make plans for that. If you are spending more money than you make, then it's like, okay, let's look at the budget, what's going on here, see where we can trim some of the expenses are so we can actually have more money left over after your expenses, after you save, after you pay out on debt, and after you invest. Is it a case where you need to find more income? Do you need to find a side hustle, get a better job, or go back to school? What do you want to do? Like, all those things start off with where you're at. So number one, you need your mentality. Number two, you need to know where you're at. Number three is education/knowledge. You have to educate yourself. And this is where, this going to, like, to me, finances is kind of like I said, it's kind of like working out. You should never really stop learning. Like, and it's really kind of like, it's a deep rooted topic where you have a lot of work to do. You have like time to really figure stuff out. You know, if you want to learn about investments, you have time. Real estate, you have time. Crypto, you have time. You know, credit cards, you know, I mean, couponing, retirement, disability insurance, I mean, estate planning, wills, trusts, I mean, life insurance. I can go on. It's so many different things to the personal finance component where you need to really start educating yourself. And that comes with YouTube, and that's come with reading books, listening to podcasts. There's a lot of good ones. So I'll give you some websites. So Investopedia is really good. If you have any financial information, like what is a balance sheet, or what is an asset, or what is life insurance, Investopedia is a good, basically Google search of all personal finances. You can go there. Number two, books is educational. Really, for me, I really enjoyed the personal finance for, dummies books. I think it gives you a very good overall of all personal finance, from, the basics to retirement to complex things. And if you follow along with those, what he recommends, then you'll be in a good place. I think Automatic Millionaire is good. I think Rich Dad Poor Dad is good. I think it's a lot of books, and it's a lot of YouTube channels that's out there good as well. A lot of investment channels, a lot of personal finance channels. So you really have to expose yourself and start educating yourself. And then four is just implementation, and once you start implementing those things, and then it's kind of like just patience. Like, you just continue to get better, continue to, be consistent and be disciplined. And number five is just repeat, cause there's going to be moments where you're going to have to maybe dip into your savings account, or there's going to be moments where it's like you took a risk and it didn't work out. There's going to be moments where, like, oh, I thought I had this income, now it's not there anymore. So it's never going to be just a straight line of just pure up, like, unless you just take no risk and nothing bad happens to you. A lot of people are not going to go through that. So with those mistakes or those unfortunate or unforeseen experiences, like, a lot of people go back down in their mentality, go back down in their worth, and that's how they kind of, get trapped into the rat race, and that's how things get harder. You got to remember all the stuff that you taught yourself in the beginning and repeat the process. Learn from your mistake. Like, dang, like, I didn't know my credit score was that low. Why is it that low? Okay, let's figure out why is that low. Okay, what can we do to make it higher, and why is it important? Those are all questions that should take time to really figure out. You have to educate yourself. So that's all. I know I feel like I talked a very long time, but those are the steps.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. I think to add to those books, like you said, Mindset's Important. Psychology of Money is a great book that covers mindset on that, because you have to understand, at the end of the day, spending a lot of what's going out is all about, your mentality. That's why they call it window shopping, right? You buy things you don't need. That's why you don't go grocery shopping when you're hungry. So read books like that. Yes. And if you also want to understand that being a millionaire isn't unreachable, Millionaire Next Door. Because all that is numbers and stats of the people who are millionaires who, to be honest, don't make as much money as you think the millionaires do. And the numbers will shock you. The other books he recommended too. And if you want a simple game plan that's going to start you out, Dave Ramsey's books, Total Money Makeover, are a great start. And then once you build from there, right, once you have that foundation, then you can start saying, well, you could leverage credit cards if you're smart. You could leverage real estate if you're smart. But again, you can't start there. You can't start running unless you've already walked.
Don't start running.
But once you gotta walk. And if you are someone that's listening and you have done some of those steps and you have implemented that, then you can start looking, okay, how can I minimize taxes? How can I raise deductions here? How can I maybe, create sources of income that, work in a certain way? How can I diversify? How can I create a formula that, maximizes, rewards or gains and minimizes risk, right? So then you can start sorting yourself in a different kind of information. Then you start looking, okay, well, maybe I'm making good money. Maybe I see myself making even more money. How does a trust work? You know, do I want a living trust and irrevocable trust, right? How am I going to leverage my position? And again, you start at the beginning, right? You don't work out twice a day, 6 times a week at the beginning. No, you start 20 minutes a day. You start, then you do it the next week, then you do it the week after, and you build.
Yep.
It's all about building. Just as working out is, so is the finances. And again, it's a mindset game. At the beginning, the numbers aren't the biggest problem, because if your mindset's not in key, it doesn't matter how much you make or how little you make, right? You have to get your mindset in check. You have to also realize that if you're not where you want to be, you might have to do things that you don't want to do. But you have to push yourself through these moments because you know where you're going. If you don't have any money, there's no pride to be had. So you can't be saying, oh, I'm not working that job because I'm too proudful. Like, no, you don't have money. You need the money. It's not what you're going to be doing in the long term, but you need to make something and to be able to move. And back to Chris's point, talking about there's going to be moments of, you know, testing waters where you might go up and down. That's why in every finance book, if they give you steps, they'll always give you an emergency net. Because what that provides is, it's not the biggest source of growth, but once you have a safety net, an amount of money that you can rely on in the dark times, what happens is if you're going up steadily and you lose your job, but you have 3 months of expenses, you flatline. And that gives you a buffer to then keep going up instead of coming crashing down. So 1, it prevents you from going back down. But 2, what it's providing for you is it's providing an opportunity for you to keep going and not losing that momentum. So that's why in every of these books, it's important to have something to rely on. Because 1, you have that time to get back on track. But 2, you're calm because you're like, hey, I got this. I got time. I can focus. And now you're not crazy headed, but rather you're clear headed and you can focus on what's next.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, that's exactly what you should do. You know, I think all the advice that you gave is beautiful. You know, it is a step-by-step process. You know, it's gradual growth, you know, small wins, delayed gratification, you know, keep your expenses as low as possible, no matter how much more money you're making. I think all of those things, what you've been saying, is will expedite the process a lot more. Be consistent, be disciplined, feed on that foundation, and then the rest is history.
Yeah. So I think really to sum it up for this episode, you know, let's take some key takeaways, and I'll talk, and then I want your input on that as well. You know, it's about structures. It's about building routines and habits, because at the end of the day, your day-to-day creates your future. And again, like I've said before on this podcast, guys, you have to understand there's 7 areas of success in the world, right? You have your physical, your financial, your mental, your spiritual, your career, and your family. And I keep forgetting the last one. I got this. Wait. And your personal. So your personal goals. There we go. Those are the 7 areas that make the wheel a success, right? So you have to be expansive in all these areas to have the round wheel that can move and that can grow and that can develop. And so, again, the finances are a key part because they allow you to explore more areas of your personal and develop your career, right? You're networking, you're going to events, and you need sometimes the money for that. But at the end of the day, you have to understand, you don't build these things overnight. It's structure-based things. So you need to build a sustainable system that works for you, but at the same time is pushing you to be better. And another point that I want to take away is that there's going to be hard experiences, and they're going to be negative in a lot of times. But if you find the positivity, if you find the light, and you go from there, then you'll realize that you'll grow more as an individual than you could ever possibly imagine than if you take the negativity. You have to understand that there's some things you can control, and that's your focus. And the things you can't control, while you need to be aware of them, they are not your focus, they are not your consumption. And as Chris said, you have to understand, it's what you're thinking. The quality of your thoughts determine the caliber of your life. You have to understand that what you're feeding yourself and what others around you are feeding you will affect how you think and how you move. So surround yourself with people that want what's best for you, that are looking to improve just as you are. Rely on them, understand how you can support yourself and how you can do better for yourself and how you can understand yourself, and really start to walk in your purpose, in your faith, and in the best possible way of life.
Amen. I mean, go experience life. I think that's the biggest takeaway I think people can get away from this. And like all the stuff that Isaac and I have been saying, you know, go experience it. You know, go see for yourself. You know, don't just watch this, turn it off, and go back to doing the same thing. Actually give it a try. I think that's the biggest thing At least for me, that was like the most scary. I didn't want to look back and wonder why, or what if, or what could have happened, or, I don't want that. So anything that's pushing you to make an uncomfortable decision or to start something that is scary for you, then you need to do it and go experience it. Life happens outside. Like you can't scroll your life away. You can't watch YouTube all day. Like you have to go out there, experience life, and grow. I think having those personal experiences when you look back on, you're gonna wish. I remember looking at some of the photos I was in college. I was like, man, I remember being there. I'm looking back. I'm like, man, I made the most out of it. I don't have really, any regrets, or whatever, what if, but there's some moments I'd have like, man, I should have paid more attention to that, or man, I wish I would have thought of something else.
No regrets, just lessons.
Exactly. So it's like, it's really going to get those opportunities and really experience, because I think a lot of my experience was really just going out and meeting people, and I have a huge network. And I realized that, like, man, looking back, like, man, I really took advantage of that, and my network is valuable. And like you said, as you continue to do your show, you're meeting more people, and you're talking and making connection with more and more people who have, some value. So therefore your network is growing as well. So to me, you have to go experience life. Life happens outside, so get to work.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time, Chris. Where can people find you at?
People can find me. I have my personal YouTube channel, Christopher Bigelow. You type it in. It's about personal finance, entrepreneurship, how to grow, save, and protect your money. Then you have the Roommates podcast, where I partner with Hafiz, where we're basically, helping men to become better in all ways. And then Instagram, Bigelow HTX, Twitter, Bigelow HTX, TikTok, same thing. That's where you can find me. So yeah, reach out to